Okay, hey everybody, Kyle Micklejohn here with the Kyle Micklejohn Home Selling Team and eXp Realty. Today, I have Katherine Meadows-fugere, right? Am I right,
You got
Katherine?
it. You got it
Yeah.
right.
Okay, so I was a little nervous about that last name. Um, so, anyways, Katherine's with the Red Deer Mortgage Lending. Red Deer Mortgage Lending, so right, correct? Yeah. So Red Deer Mortgage Lending. She's an award-winning mortgage broker, and I use her all the time for any of my mortgage needs around with my clients as much as I can. Anyway, so on a regular basis, welcome, Katherine, I guess.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Kyle.
Yeah. So on a regular basis, every day I'm talking to buyers and sellers, and there's always a lot of questions regarding mortgages, what's the, any of the new changes and whatever. So I thought this would be a good chance to put a video like this together to answer a lot of questions, solve a lot of problems with some new home buyers that are looking to get into something and trade up buyers. So
sounds great.
So let's get right into it. So let's start with new buyer. Sorry, my questions are over here, so I got to look off to the right on my other screen here. So, but anyways, let's start with the new buyer financing. So let's start with credit score.
Okay. Well, credit score is a tricky thing. And what sometimes people think is, hey, I have a great credit score, so this shouldn't be an issue. But it's really important for people to understand and have their credit assessed, because lenders look at more than just a score. Credit is about the score, but it's also about your repayment history. It's also if there's any judgments or anything reporting on your bureau that's out of the out of the norm. And it's also how much credit you have reporting, as well as with that credit, what your balances are. Mm-hmm. So, gone are the days of just saying I have an 800 beacon score, because you could have an 800 beacon score and you could actually be maxed out on all of your credit and have some serious issues where the lender is just saying, this is too much of a risk, great credit score, but they're way overextended. So it is so crucial to have a mortgage specialist working with you that actually can do this with you, that has the experience to go through this with you, that it's not just about saying, yeah, the numbers work, you qualify for a mortgage, because there is far more to it these days than just having a good credit score.
Yeah. Okay. Number two, how much is the minimum down payment? I get that question all the time.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there. So one thing I want to point on is there is no zero down anymore. Yeah. Unfortunately, gone are the days of that. But what there is products that allude to that zero down, such as potentially using your RSPs. So if you have not owned or lived in a home with someone in the last 4 years, you can qualify to use your RSPs for down payment as a first-time home buyer. Sometimes that's alluded to as a zero down because you're not actually coming up with the money in hand. There is the option, of course, of having gifted down payment. That can typically come from an immediate family member, and you can have all or a portion of the down payment gifted. Of course, there are traditional 5% down resources where you are getting that yourself. You save it, you sell a vehicle, you get a tax return, anything that would be considered coming from your own resources. But that does have to be in your bank account for 90 days unless you have proof of where it came from. So as long as we have the proof, you got a tax refund last week and we can prove that it came from Revenue Canada, no problem. Again, 5% down. So traditionally it is 5%. If there's a higher risk elevation to the lender, they may come back and ask for more down payment. But in most cases, you can get into a mortgage, whether you're a first-time buyer, a second-time buyer, a third-time buyer, on a primary residence or a second home with 5% down. When you're talking about rental properties and investment properties, that is entirely different ball game. And of course, that is a minimum of 20% down But please keep in mind that these things are based on solid A lenders and having a solid A deal. So when you're getting into credit issues and secondary options, those creditors, or excuse me, those lenders do require more down payment to get into a home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
I do have one other thing that I could mention here, Kyle. The other thing that there's a little bit of buzz about is the new home buyers incentive plan through CMHC.
Yeah.
So wanted to touch on that. Again, some misconceptions because people think, hey, they're going to give me 5% down. This is true if you meet their criteria, but that is matching your 5%. So you still have to have 5% from your own traditional resources. It can't be borrowed. And then they will match up to 5% for existing homes and up to 10% with new construction. You need to understand that CMHC is tied to your mortgage and is on title with this mortgage, and they are willing to take the highs and the lows with you, meaning you don't have to pay that money back with any interest whatsoever until your house is paid off or until you sell. Mm-hmm. But you need to know that if your house increases in value, that you're going to pay the 5% on the value when you sell it or when your house is paid off. And the other side of it is if you sell and you've lost, they will actually take that loss with you and they don't penalize you. Oh, wow. So again, it's a really nice way to top up and be able to qualify for a little bit more where you wouldn't have traditionally been able to do that with the 5% that you had on your own. Yeah. Definitely not a product for everyone, but we have had a few coming through the office and they worked really well for the people that are doing them. Mm-hmm. So again, a great mortgage broker who is going to sit down with you and look at your entire picture can really help you assess your credit, assess your needs, and assess the best situation for yourself.
Okay, perfect, cool. That clears up a lot for me too with that, because I get that asked that all the time and don't know the full answer to that. So that's perfect. So next, a couple more questions. Trade up buyers for financing. So what are can you review the rules for the new rules over 500,000 when you're borrowing over $500,000?
Well, the only real new rule is now you have to do your 5% on the first 500,000 and then you are 10% on the additional amount. So just keep that in perspective. You still pay 5% on 500,000, but you do need to come up with an additional money for the remaining amount. So if you're buying a $700,000 house, you know that that additional 200,000 is going to require 10% down payment. Okay, perfect. And that's all that. It's just 5% and then 10%. Yeah, it's pretty basic.
Yeah. Okay. Next, final question. Renting their current home to buy something new?
That's a very good question. Yeah. I think this is an absolutely fabulous idea for people really wanting to get into the rental market. Mm-hmm. Rentals used to be able to be purchased with 5% down, and that slowly moved down to that 20% mark. So it's very, very challenging to get into the rental and investment world if you want to. But on the second side of that is when people just want to move and can't sell their house, it's also an option for them to buy some time and just say, you know what, we're going to rent it for now, maybe until the market picks up or till the summer or whatever the case may be for them. And then they're able to list their house at a time where they believe they're going to get what they need to in order to sell. Yeah. There are different strategies that lenders use. And again, I'm going to go back to using a good mortgage broker because there are offsets, there are rental spreadsheets, and then there is just a simple, we only use X amount of dollars and this is what it is. And many people won't qualify. So what I mean by this is that if they just do a 50% offset, they have a calculation that they use. And you're going, well, my mortgage is only $1,000 and I'm getting $1,000 for rent. So it's a wash. That is not the case at all. In their eyes, you're under the threshold. You're way in the hole. So they're factoring in maintenance, vacancy rate, taxes, sometimes heat, depending on if you have utilities included, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure all of those things are included. Often these spreadsheets are the most advantageous for somebody who wants to turn their house into a rental. And we have access to all of those lenders who use those spreadsheets and make it a much more generous opportunity for you to qualify without having to have more income. So even if your debt servicing threshold is fairly high, I mean, as long as it's not over and it doesn't put you over, and your file is fairly strong, we can actually still get you in to that new home with 5% down, holding your existing home as a rental. And all we need to do is provide market rents from an appraiser that confirms the average value that they believe you could rent your property for. Or of course, a lease agreement makes that much stronger as well if you know somebody willing to rent your property.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good one. That's a great option for, not so much for people that are in town moving up, but people that are moving from another town, can't sell their house, you know, and they're moving here for work. It's a good option for them.
Actually, it's a good option for anyone, Kyle, because, you know, we are in a tough market and it is taking longer to sell houses than it has in the past. And that's not because it's not good realtors and they're in the wrong place. I mean, the reality is it's just taking longer. We're in tough economic times, but that could be a great advantage for you because there are going to be a lot of people who couldn't necessarily qualify for a mortgage who have to rent right now. There are more renters out there because they can't get into mortgages. But I say the opposite of that too is right now, if you have a good job and you have a good credit score and you've got that down payment, I would say now more than ever is the best time to buy because you are buying when rates and values are really low.
Yeah, the rate. What's the 5-year rate now around?
Okay, so I'm gonna touch a little bit on this, Kyle, because this is really, really important for people to know. And I am not the mortgage broker you're gonna call and ask me what my best five-year rate is, and I'm going to give you some cookie cutter answer to try and get you your business. I ask questions, and the reason I ask questions is no rate is created equal. I call what a lot of people do out there sandwich board advertising, and it drives me nuts because they want to lure people in with a teaser rate or what they call a low basic rate mortgage or something like that, even sometimes a variable, and people don't understand what variable rate mortgages are. And especially a first-time home buyer, you just see this low rate and you go, that's great, and I call, and then they're like, oh, you know what, you actually don't qualify for that. So it's really important to understand rates and what the penalties are, because I guarantee you 99.9% of people, when I tell them the differences in rate and they're thinking I could get them, I can absolutely get you that low rate product, but I'm going to tell you for 0.05% higher, this rate is available and these are the terms with it versus this. All of those people have gone to that standard rate because life happens. And if you have to break your mortgage, you need to make sure that that penalty does not throw you under the bus and make it impossible for you to sell if you need to sell. So back to that question, 5-year standard rates on a general 120-day term with good standard prepayment privileges are sitting right about 269 right now. Again, that is a generalized number. And, you know, this video is going to be out there circulating for a while, so we need to remember that that rate literally could change tomorrow. But just so we can have a basis for you to understand the general analysis of rates. You do not want, I call them Hotel California rates. You can check in, but you can't check out. That's a term I use a lot. So we just really want to be really careful of that. But know that rates are fantastic. And the 5-year rate is a very, very good, generous way for a first-time home buyer to get in and get security for 5 years on a rate term. Is there anything you want to add to that or any other questions you might have from that? Okay.
I guess, the date of filming, December 4th, 2000.
Yeah, that's really, really important.
2019. So, but yeah, they're always changing, but that's super low, 2.69. So
it really, really is. And like I said, I just, for people who are unsure, maybe you're just scrolling the internet and listings and not even sure if you could qualify, or maybe you think you never will. talking to somebody. There's no obligation and no cost to you. So being able to sit down and talk to someone before you get your heart set on a house that's 400,000 and you find out you don't qualify, or you only qualify for 200,000, is really, really in your best interest. And it also helps out you when you're, you know, starting to talk to Kyle or someone about a home, and you know what your limitations are. Or you might surprise yourself and go, I didn't think I could qualify for a mortgage, so I never bothered to get pre-qualified. It is really, really important. If you're thinking of buying a house, you're thinking of selling and upgrading, the first stop is a mortgage specialist. Yeah. And then talking to Kyle about your options and what's out there in that price range, because you don't want to do it the opposite way, because it's really, really heart-wrenching when, you know, I know what it's like when you want something and then now you're told, you know, you don't qualify for that amount. Or I can work with you. I can tell you, you know, you don't qualify now, but let's work on this over the next 6 months or the next year. This is what I want you to do. And I'm going to provide you the steps and the counsel to get you in a position where we can get you back to Kyle and go, I'm ready to purchase and I'm pre-qualified now. Yes. Yeah, that's a great point. It's very important to start with somebody like yourself, right? So, you know, I can add one more point that I think is really also very crucial for yourself and for potential home buyers is the term pre-approved. Yeah. This is a very, very misleading term as well. You need to understand that pre-approved basically equals rate hold. Mm-hmm. In 90% of the time, they have not looked at your documents, they have not looked at your file, and a lender will not do that until you have a live offer. Mm-hmm. What I do is pre-qualify you. So pre-qualifying to me is very different, because I look at your paperwork, I go through the application, I go through your credit, we do all your checking of your you know, your T4s, your NOAs, all of that information, so you have a good footing with that lender. They're still not looking at your deal until you write the offer, so anything can still happen. But you are basically in the position where I am doing the job of the underwriter to get you ready and saying, yes, I believe that you are ready to go and purchase. Your next step is writing that offer. Yeah, yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, I think that's, we're going to wrap this up. That's a lot of great questions, answers to a lot of great questions, I guess I should say. Solved a lot of problems for a lot of people here, what you've talked about or what you hit on there. So how do people get a hold of you? What's your, yeah. You know what, you know, great question. We are in a time where the internet is crucially valuable. You can reach us on our website at www.reddeermortgagelending.com. You can seek us out on Facebook. Or you could call me directly at 403-598-1684. We are happy to take your calls, your texts, your emails, anytime. Evening, weekends, that's what we're here for. We want to cater to you. But yeah, check us out on the internet, and we'd love to help you when you're ready to purchase your next home with Kyle. Perfect. Okay, thanks a lot, Catherine. So as well for me, if anybody's looking for a free home evaluation, or you're looking to buy a home, give me a call, 403-872-9178, or you can visit soldbykyle.ca. Thank you. Have a good one. Thank you. Have a great day.